An airstrike on a school in Gaza has killed at least 15 people, including children. That is according to Gaza Civil Defense. It happened near Nasser Hospital in Khan Younis. This video showing the chaos with people spilling out from a stairwell as the fire spread on the top floor of the school, which is inside a humanitarian area designated by Israel.
Well, the death toll from Israel's airstrike on a UN-run school in Khan Younis has reportedly risen to at least 20 people, including children, of course. Now, images and video posted on social media showed Palestinians frantically searching for survivors in the rubble following the attack on Ahmed bin Abdul Aziz school. According to the UN, a 2-year-old girl suffered severe head trauma and lost sight in one eye. Her 5-year-old brother also had a serious head injury. One man lost his brother and his children in this strike, and a 17-year-old girl's mother was crushed to death. Now, as usual, we're hearing the same excuse, the same answers from the IDF and the Israeli government. In fact, the Israeli military said on Monday it had struck Hamas militants operating from a compound that previously served as a UN-run school.
Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, we all get it. The same argument over and over and over again. This UN-run school happened to be one of the few places where Palestinians have been able to find shelter, considering the majority of the buildings, residential buildings, hospitals, universities, schools, you name it, have been utterly destroyed, leveled. Now, those sheltering in the school disagree with what the Israeli military is saying. Let's watch.
There are no fighters here at all. They are all simple people who just want to live.
They bombed the school, which was a shelter for children, and there were no fighters here. They were all children and we were sleeping. So why didn't they tell us to evacuate the school? How can they bomb a school?
Well, the school isn't the only thing that was bombed. The strike actually came shortly after an estimated 36 people were killed in an attack on Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza. Additionally, Al Jazeera journalist Ahmed Alou was among the 6 people killed in a strike on the Civil Emergency Center in the Nuseirat market area. 3 civil defense workers were also among those killed in that strike. And the attacks continued today as Israeli strikes across Gaza killed at least 10 people. I'm sure the death toll has probably risen since that reporting came out, but the Gaza Health Ministry now estimates that as many as 45,000 people have been killed. And heartbreaking findings indicate that most children in Gaza expect to die soon. And if they don't expect to die soon, they're hoping that they do, because of the trauma that they're suffering. A new study of children living through the war in Gaza has found that 96% of them feel that their death is imminent, and almost half want to die as a result of the trauma they have been through. And by the way, I think it's important to get into an analysis of the casualties, because there's a lot of debate in regard to how many Hamas militants are getting killed in some of these strikes. We're gonna get to those details because there's an interesting report out about that with some important data. But before we do, Cenk, thoughts?
Yeah, so I want to read one more graphic here because it goes to the question of whether we should say that these children were killed or that they were murdered. So this is from Air Wars. One of the minimum 1,900 children killed, 92% were killed in incidents involving the destruction of residential buildings. And to me, this is the most important number. 82% of children killed died in strikes on residential infrastructure where no militant was publicly reported killed.
These were strikes in October of 2023 alone, specifically, yeah.
Yes. So it gives you a sense of the efficacy of these strikes if you're actually trying to get militants. So if you said to me there's some terrible killers there, but you need to murder 16,000 kids so that 18% of the time you might hit one of those killers. I have to murder how many kids? I have to kill 16,000 kids to potentially maybe get to a killer 18% of the time? No, I'm not gonna murder those many kids. So but here in America, if you say, hey, killing 45,000 people when your bombs almost never hit the militants, killing 16,000 kids when they almost never hit the militants, is murder and is done on purpose, obviously. You just kept missing and missing and missing and missing. Oh, golly gee, I killed 2 stadiums full of innocent civilians because I'm just the most incompetent military. You can do all the propaganda you want, but to the rest of us, to the rest of the world, that is murdering children for your political advantage, okay? So, but here in America, me saying that will be perceived as so much more offensive than actually murdering the children. Isn't that so perverse? Isn't that amazing? So they're like, oh yeah, 16,000 butchered kids. 90% of them think, shoot, 96% of them think they're about to get killed any second. The trauma is unreal and will last a lifetime. And half of them wish they were dead. And Israel did that, but Israel is not at fault.
Israel and the United States.
The people complaining about it are at fault. The people saying facts are at fault, etc. Today, Israel accused the Prime Minister of Ireland of being racist and anti-Semitic.
Why? Because he has the audacity to call a spade a spade? I mean, honestly, how much further does the current Israeli government need to go in slaughtering innocent people for the valid critiques to be viewed as such?
Yeah, and so in the case of Ireland, I wonder if it's because they could relate to being occupied by a different power,
right, and
being called terrorists for fighting back and winning their liberation, etc. Or they randomly hate Jews for no reason. And only an Israeli supporter could be so blind as to think, yeah, all the Irish are anti-Semitic, not that they can relate to being occupied. Right. So, and now they're gonna take more of Syria, as Anna's about to explain to you. So look, guys, there is no end to the death and destruction that Israel has sown here. And so for all of your life, you have been fed propaganda by American media that the Muslims are the violent ones. When in reality, the violence has been done to the Muslims over and over and over again at massive scale, and you've been lied to. So this is what we're trying to tell you here. We're trying to break that hypnosis, because Anna's right. This isn't just about Israel. That's our money, American money, that slaughtered those kids. And it's our media that covers for that slaughter. And if anyone dares criticize it, they will in unison scream, anti-Semitic. It's just that you randomly hate Jews. Israel has never done anything wrong. So this is disgusting.
So before we move on to Syria, I just want to give you some more statistics and analysis that came out of this review done by Air Wars, because something else that they found is that out of the 606 incidents of civilian harm in Gaza in October of 2023, in this 1 month, only 26 out of the 606 had evidence that at least one militant was killed. Only 26 out of the 606, okay, included at least one militant being killed. The rest, all civilians.
So do you think that Israel missed 580 times because they're just the worst military in the world? They just can't ever hit anything right, but they never learn a lesson either. They're like, we just murdered more children, no militants, no militants. Oh, golly gee, let's miss again and again and again. No, because this goes to the core of whether they're terrorists or not. And unfortunately, this current right-wing government of Israel is literal terrorists. They already had terrorists in the cabinet that were adjudicated as supporting terrorism. Now they have done one of the worst acts of terrorism of my life. And what it hinges on is it intentional or not? And when you only hit 26 militants out of 606 times that you struck, and you killed 45,000 civilians or 45,000 people, the overwhelming majority of whom are civilians, you get to begin to get the sense that it is intentional. And if you still think it's not intentional, golly gee, they just can't ever hit the right target. But the next time they do a bombing, they are gonna have great intent, because they're Israel, and the Muslims are the violent savages, and we are the holy people. Okay, well then, you're so out of touch that you're a borderline lunatic. But for the rest of us, this is sickening, and I don't want to spend one more dollar that comes out of all of our paychecks to kill these poor people.
Now, while raining terror in Gaza, the Israeli military is simultaneously encroaching more and more into Syrian territory, thus making it clearer to anyone with a functioning brain what the actual intent and motive is for the Israeli government. But nonetheless, let's take a look at the reporting.
A week after the fall of Bashar al-Assad, Israel is expanding its operations and striking dozens of targets across Syria. Rebel leader Ahmad Sharaa condemning what he called misguided Israeli aggression, saying he is not interested in a conflict with Israel and instead wants to focus on rebuilding Syria. But there are competing interests in this region. While Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel has no interest in a conflict with Syria, he also says he plans to expand the building of settlements in the occupied Golan Heights to prevent terrorist elements from taking over near our border. Israel seized the border buffer zone as soon as Assad fell, and relentless airstrikes have decimated Syria's entire defensive capability.
Yeah, building the Israeli settlements was the point all along, okay? I don't think that there's genuine fear of Syrian terrorism, but nonetheless, Israel has no plans to slow down. Again, the whole point is to build more Israeli settlements on land that does not belong to them. Netanyahu said he wanted to double the population of the Golan Heights, which Israel seized during the 1967 Six-Day War and is considered illegally occupied under international law. But international law doesn't apply to Israel, of course. Bibi said in a statement on Sunday night, quote, "Strengthening the Golan Heights is strengthening the state of Israel, and it is especially important at this time. We will continue to hold on to it, make it flourish, and settle it."
Yeah, that's the Israeli propaganda of, when we take land from these loser savages, these natives that are here, and we steal it, take it. We make it flourish. We make the desert bloom. That's why it's better in our hands than these violent, savage, loser Muslims. You just steal it from them and then you make it flourish because we're such flourishers and we're such beautiful human beings. And they're never gonna be able to get anything done. Remember what Ben Shapiro's line about all the Arabs knows how to blow things up? Oh, that's inconvenient that Israel's blown up all of Gaza.
Oops.
And they all know how to live in the sewerage and they're dumb, et cetera, right? That was his implication about living in the sewage. Well, here we are, and now they're stealing more Syrian land. And I'm so sorry, have I offended you for correctly stating what they're doing? Because under international law, Golan Heights is Syrian territory. And Israel's saying, no, I'm gonna steal it and flourish it with my people instead of your stupid people who I already murdered, okay? So now they've taken an extra buffer zone past the Golan Heights in Syria.
Yep.
My guess is, look, there's two things here because we're always fair. And you think, well, you use language that are supposed to be reserved for Muslims, but yet you use it for Israel. That doesn't seem fair. No, it is exactly fair. The New York Times and CNN constantly call Muslims who do violence terrorists, savages, murderers, right? But when it comes to Israel, the government, the much more powerful government of Israel, the killings, accidental, took the land but didn't steal it, etc. Now my guess is here, in being fair, that they're going to pretend to compromise and give back some of the extra land past the Golan Heights that they've taken recently and go, well, obviously we're keeping the Golan Heights, that's why we're doubling the settlements.
Who's gonna stop them, Cenk? Who's gonna stop them? As long as the United States warrants anything that the Israeli government wants to do, and we now have a so-called two-party system where both parties will sanction anything that Israel wants to do, they're gonna do it.
Yeah, of course they are. So, and then just to finish the thought, they're now going to try to take half of Gaza. That's the indication that they've shown in their statements and in their trainings, etc.
That's cute that people think it's only gonna be half of Gaza.
Yeah, well, for now, they're certainly gonna take northern Gaza. They've already said we're gonna take central Gaza and we're gonna take the border crossing in southern Gaza, which leaves almost nothing in Gaza. And now they're having conversations about annexing the West Bank. So basically they're thinking, okay, we got these sucker Americans to give us $30 billion to kill these people, drive them from their land and take their land, and then we'll get their media to say that the victims are the aggressors. The victims are the ones that are threatening Israel. Israel's occupying them, but we'll pretend that the Palestinians are more powerful and oppressing the poor Israelis. Israel might not exist because of the Palestinians. Israel might not exist. Okay, I know that there was when Israel first started, that was a super legitimate thought, right? These days, if you're still saying that super old talking point when Israel is one of the most powerful militaries in the world and backed by America, you're being ridiculous, totally and utterly blind. Okay, so unfortunately, Anna's right. Nothing will be done about this. Israel has overwhelming military, financial, and media power, and so they will have the Dana Bashes of the world come out and accuse everyone who criticizes Israel of being anti-Semitic. It has nothing to do with Jews or Muslims from our perspective, and we say that every time. This isn't about Jewish culture is beautiful, and unfortunately the government of Israel has perverted it, etc. We've talked about it endlessly. But they'll say it anyway because they're liars, and they will pretend that Israel's the victim when they are the giant aggressors. They have killed all these innocent people and they have taken their land. That's the reality. We do a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.